Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the April 2018 PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting, where today we are talking about the support log. Mary Jo is going to expose that little gem of information to you, and alarms. I am the alarm guy, so I'm going to talk about alarms. But first, a little bit of preamble, and before I even get into my preamble, I'm going to remind everybody that version 16 is being sunsetted in June, and it will no longer be supported. So if you are on version 16 and you are enjoying the support that you get from STI, or maybe we help you out occasionally and we need support from STI, that's going to go away. And not only that, if you let it get to a point where you're still on 16 and it's been sunsetted, eventually it will become harder and harder to get off of 16, simply because the farther back you are, the more hoops we have to jump through to make that happen. So if you're still on 16 and you're on maintenance, well, just get updated because it's free. You're entitled to it. If you're still on 16 and you're not on maintenance, you may want to consider upgrading anyways, and that would be a paid upgrade. But the support, as I say, for 16 is going away. And why? Because 19 is coming. We've seen 19. We're actually using 19. We are currently in a pre-release program for 19, meaning that we're using it and letting STI know when we encounter things that are different than we expect. And you, very soon, will be able to do that very thing. So if you'd like to be the first person on your block to have version 19, you can do it by signing up for the pre-release, which means you just get the software a couple months early, and you let them know if you find anything weird. So if you do want to get on pre-release, email me. It's paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com, and Purdue, as we all know, is spelled like the school, not the chicken. So that's P-U-R-D-U-E. paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. Just let us know. We will send you a version 19 what's new list so you can look at it and make sure that it's got stuff you're interested in testing out and getting to see before everybody else. And then if appropriate, we'll get you signed up to be in the pre-release. So without any further ado, I'm going to press a series of buttons that will take me to a point where I discover that we have not loaded the demo copy of PracticeMaster. So I'll get in there real quick while Mary Jo is entertaining you with some preamble on what she's going to talk about.
I thought you were going to say a lawyer joke.
No,
I don't know any lawyer jokes.
I always try for the lawyer jokes, but you don't know any, so
I don't know any lawyer jokes. Okay, so the support log is going to be a great place for you to go back in and check some things that users have done. And it's not going to show us everything, so we can't go in and say, oh, what did they do here? What did they do there? We can't quite get all of the things that they possibly could do, but we can get some of them. So we can find out, if somebody says, hey, I didn't put that calendar entry on, or I didn't do this or whatever, we might have ways to see that kind of thing. But in the support log, there's some very specific things that we can look at by user, so we can go in and see that, or by whatever the function is. So to look at that support log, we're going to go under View in PracticeMaster, and we're going to look at the log files. And if we go over on that little arrow drop down, there is a support log. And you may not even know what that was or that it was even here. And most of the time when I think of something like a support log, I'm thinking it's going to be this big text document of all this rubbish that I can't understand. And that's not true here. What this is a little interactive utility that you can give date ranges, select a specific user or a feature, and find out what happened. So I'm going to leave the date range open because we are in test data, and I'm not exactly sure where we are in that with the dates. But if you are looking to see if a certain user did something, you can choose specific, and you can choose a number of users or just one. So I just want to know what Dan did, or I want to know what Jason did, or whatever, or I can select them off. Or if I just leave it at all, I will see all of the users so I can kick back and find out who it was. The features section of this, again, I can say all features, but if you want to know what it's going to check, we can do specific, and it opens up all of the options that we have for the features that we can check for the support log. So we can see if anybody has done an auto sync. We can do the backup. Who was the last person to make a backup, or did they make a backup in this date range? You can see the client information file. Now, I can't get down into specifics in the client information file, but we can see if somebody has changed or did something to a client, to the client file. And even, I believe, delete.
Delete was just added recently.
Yeah,
yes.
so delete is in there too. So, you know, all of a sudden a client's been deleted. Who did it? We'd be able to find that out. Data file integrity check. Who's done that last and when was it done? File maintenance, area practice changes. So have there been any kind of changes in that? And again, I can select any of these. Did somebody go into file maintenance and erase the data in there? That would be huge. They would have wiped out a whole area of practice or a whole file area. And so we want to make sure who did that. We could do that. Hopefully if that happens, you have a backup. File maintenance, file changes. So same thing. If did somebody make a change in file maintenance? And then that I'm talking about under maintenance and then file maintenance. And that's where all the fields are created, all of our settings. Did somebody change something in there? Who did a find and replace? And you know, what happened here? That's another thing to check. Form designer, who's edited the form layout? All of a sudden a field is moved or taken off of a screen. What happened? Who changed that? Or deleted it or added it? Who did an import of data? Installed updates or log off users. That's the other thing. If we go up here and we view and we log off users, the active users, who logged them off? You know, what happened there? Merging contacts is one. Who performed merges for contacts? Oops, I'm not trying to highlight those. Who ran the process timer record? Reindexing files, renaming contacts or renumbering clients. So it's all available in here. Restoring data from a backup. Who submitted log files, who synchronized PM and tabs and trust, or who's been in workflows. So all of these things are available to check in PracticeMaster. So I'm going to leave it open, and I'm going to leave all my date range open because, again, I'm in sample data, so I really have no idea what this is going to return. So it's always fun. Let's print this, and let's preview it, and let's see what comes back. So at this point, I can see that on 12/28, the blank user backed up data files, and it was successful. It even tells me what time. And then there was a backup prior to a one-time file conversion. So this is just saying that that was the last time this was run and why. Here's some updates that were installed. So these are the dates they were installed, the time, and who did them. And then even what the release date was for those updates and the version. So this could be very helpful information. When was the last update done and who did it? Who logged off users? There isn't any on here, but those records here would be there. And restoring data, nothing there. And submitting log files, there was nothing on that one. But these are the information these pieces here is what it would show. Let me go down to the next page. Let me go up a little bit further here. So here's our auto sync, client file information. I don't have any changes on that. Data file integrity check, and so on. None of these have been changed in the sample data recently, but this would tell me who and what was replaced on some of this. So again, no records found on this. It was sample data, but yours would have some different information as things were changed. And then workflows. And let's go down to our final page. It's just going to give me when I ran the support log and who ran it. So we're logged in as Ron. It's telling me this. So we can print this out, depending how long it is, and we can have that documentation of what happened.
Not only is the program watching you, but the people that are watching what it's watching are being watched as well. Who ran it? When did they run it?
Exactly. So you can
good.
see this can be very helpful if something gets changed or deleted and you want to find out who did it or what happened. You may be able to find that information in the support log. So don't ignore that. That might, we have history that can show us some things if something changed or, if, what was the information before it changed, that kind of thing. But if it gets deleted, that record is gone. Now, in that client files, I'm just going to make a note here. If we go down here and look at that client file information, you'll notice here it's not going to tell me Well, it does tell me who the client ID is, but it's not going to give me the information that was deleted. So let's say
Well,
that
it will. It'll say, oh, not the information.
no.
Yes.
So if I had, you know, somebody that deleted a piece of information within the client file, I may not know exactly what that was. Now, if the whole client got deleted, then I would see that that client ID was deleted, and by who. So all of a sudden there's some missing clients or something happened, I'd be able to tell immediately when and who and what. So that's important. I wouldn't be able to retrieve the information that was lost, but I would, in this instance, be able to at least see, oh yes, that client did get removed, and this is how it happened,
and why,
and when. So it can be not just a useful tool for you know, I don't want to make it all a negative thing, because it's not just if somebody did something bad. You know, you're not trying to go on a witch hunt and find out who did it, but you may be. But it can also just give you some valuable information on some of the things. You just want to know when it was done, and you know, who did it, or if I did this, or something like that.
So I will throw in that the reason that it tracks that clients are deleted, it was added about, well, let's say 6 months ago, is because of a need that somebody had, a problem that arose. There are many people that would love to see calendar information tracked in the support log. So I would suggest that everyone that's listening open an email to wishlist@tabs3.com, wishlist@tabs3.com, and send them an email saying that we would love to have the support log track changes and especially deletions to calendar records. It's huge. It comes up a lot. And the more people that say that this is something they want, the more likely it is that this is going to show up in the support log sooner rather than later.
And we do have, just to throw this out there, a way to help you track that kind of information. It's not here in the support log, but we do have a way, if somebody deletes a calendar entry, to alert you and keep that information if necessary.
Yeah, the thing is that it has to be put into place before the record's deleted.
And it has to also be something that, well, depending how we notify users, it could be a platinum issue, or it could be.
It could be done in either. Mary Jo did some really neat stuff in non-platinum that tracks it, even though it's easier to track in platinum.
So there are some ways, but the support log is a quick, easy, fast way to just get a quick report. And I didn't limit mine because I am in sample data, but you could definitely restrict this and say, I know something happened between April 1st and April 30th, and that would definitely reduce your results that you're going to get. And I'm only wanting to see this specific feature. So you have a lot of, or just one user. I want to see everything that Sue did, you know, and you can go get a list of that. So this can be helpful for a lot of reasons. Huh?
Great. Well, I'm going to talk about alarms, because I am the alarm guy, and I've already kind of gotten rid of my alarms, but I'm going to show you where they come from, how to set them, and how to manage them. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, let's say to the daily calendar, and I am going to set an alarm for something. I'm just going to put something in the calendar for November 29th, 2016, which is where our sample data lives. It lives right around there. I'm going to put test as the description, 3:30 to, let's say, 4 p.m. And I want to be reminded 10 minutes before. Now, I just typed 10 and hit tab, and it put in 10 minutes. It made the assumption. You'll notice that there are some predefined things in here, but you can type really whatever you want. 29 minutes is not in my predefined list, but I could say 29 minutes, and it would know what I'm talking about, okay? So I could say 1 year. I could say 2 weeks, 4 days, 17 minutes. I can really say whatever I want, and it will put that alarm in there. What this means, and I'm going to just go back to 10 because that's kind of a standard I use. What this means is tell me 10 minutes before this happens. Now, obviously, this is in the past, so as soon as I save this record, it's going to say, whoa, I should have reminded of this a long time ago. I'm going to remind him right now. So let's see what that looks like. As soon as I save that, I need to put it on somebody's. There we go, Ron. And I save it, and here's an ad. and give it a minute, and it's going to pop up my alarms. Now, you saw this pop up before. There were 3 of them in there, so now when it pops up, there's going to be 4. While we're waiting, I will preface this by telling you that alarms used to pop up one at a time. And when they switched, I believe, from 16 to 17, maybe from 15 to 16, they created this multi-alarm box that allows us to see all of our alarms in one location. And oh, okay. Thank you, Mary Jo. Okay, so I put it. It thinks my date is something, and it must be before the 16th. Well, whatever. It doesn't think we're quite there yet. So here are all my active alarms, and so this is what's going to pop up when this happens. And at this point, now you could log into PracticeMaster and already have alarms that have not been snoozed or are already past due. A lot of the alarms that I set for a given day, I'll set for 5 a.m. so that when I log into PracticeMaster, they're going to pop up right away. Okay. I will tell you that my Saturday alarm default is 8 a.m., just so you know that I'm not that weird. However, they'll pop up whenever you told them to. So I synchronize my calendar with Outlook. My Outlook synchronizes with my phone synchronizes with my watch. And honest to God, I've been sitting there. I was in Lincoln last week, and I was sitting there at a very early development meeting thinking, boy, if I can get this meeting to end in a half an hour, I can still take my walk. And I was all ready to, say goodbye and sign off and put on my sweatpants and go take a walk when my watch told me that I had a meeting with Tom in 10 minutes. So these alarms are synchronized with your Outlook, which of course then usually synchronizes with your phone. And for me, that means it synchronizes with my watch. And so these alarms drive me throughout the day. They tell me exactly what I need to do, usually 10 minutes before. Now, if an alarm comes up and an alarm does not have to be for an event. It doesn't have to be your meeting with Tom in 10 minutes or you have a deposition in 20 minutes. An alarm can be on a task. Now, let's look at that real quick. I'm not going to close this. I'm just going to minimize it. Oh, I have to close it because it's active alarms. I can also go into my task list, like down here. I could double click and edit this task and put an alarm on it. But I can only put an alarm on a task if it has a start time. Now, many of you know that a task can have a start time but no end time. That's the difference between a task and an event. A task can need to be completed by a certain time, but there's no end time. There's no duration to a task. A task is something that should be done at this point, but it's not like you're blocked out for an hour like you would be with a deposition or a client meeting. So as soon as I have a time in there, I can put an alarm on a task. And same sort of thing. Now, usually with a task alarm, you're not reminding yourself 10 minutes before, you're just reminding yourself at the time that you've already determined. So if I wanted to make sure that I got confirmation of service for this particular matter for certain medical records, and I wanted to make sure that at 9 o'clock I was reminded, just in case I didn't happen to notice it on my task list, I would put 9 o'clock as the start time and set the alarm time as 0 minutes. And at that point, something would pop up and remind me to do this. Now I'm going to try and, okay. I gotcha. So Mary Jo's giving me advice here. Let's see if we can get this to pop. Now, when this pops, I have an option to snooze. So there are 2 things you can do to get an alarm to go away but come back. You can reschedule it, or you can snooze it. Now, if it's an event, you're not going to reschedule the event to make the alarm come back later. You're going to simply maybe snooze it for 1 minute before, 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before if it's an earlier alarm. But with a task, you can simply reschedule it. Yeah, well, I'm just going to go into active alarms, Mary Jo. So I'm going to go back into active alarms and just take a look at this. So what I can do, and I have a feeling that I think I have a date issue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you into my PracticeMaster real quick. And we're in version 19. Don't look, anybody. And my alarms will be coming up any second now. So here's my alarm list. And I have some that are a little bit overdue that I've just been kind of ignoring. So if I'm going to figure out what to do with an iPad that Bob, my wife, Barbara O'Leary Purdue, and I'm going to snooze this because I don't want to be reminded, I don't want to reschedule it. I can just snooze it for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 4 weeks or 4 days. I'm going to snooze this for 10 minutes. And so what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I think that this is important, and I want you to bring this right back to me in 10 minutes. Now, if this particular issue, like working on LastPass, which is our password manager, if I'm not going to do this, I don't want to be reminded of this again until tomorrow, it should be rescheduled till tomorrow. I'm not a big proponent of constantly snoozing alarms. I've gone into people's offices and they have dozens and dozens and dozens of alarms that are all way overdue, and all they're doing is snoozing them, or maybe just ignoring them. My feeling is that if an alarm pops, you should either snooze it or reschedule it. If you do what you've seen me do right there, which is ignore them, we won't talk about that, then you're just ignoring them, and you're going to continue to ignore them. So if I want to take this to tomorrow, and I'm going to start, as I said, when I want to be reminded right away, I set the alarm to 5 a.m., 0 minutes, and now this will not pop up again until tomorrow. If I minimize this and go into my calendar file and just create a fake task for today, test task, and I go ahead and put in an alarm time of 9 a.m. and an alarm or a start time of 9 a.m., alarm time of 0 minutes. This should pop pretty quickly. There it is. So right away it says, hey, there's something to do. It's past the time that it was supposed to do. 5 hours and 27 minutes passed, by the way. And are you going to do this? Next thing to do then is to simply either snooze it or reschedule it and move on. If I wanted to take that and that and that and review them or snooze them, I can snooze all 3 of them. What I'm doing to mark these is Control-click. I can also click the first and do a shift-click and mark everything in between. And so whatever I snooze will happen for all these items. I cannot reschedule something that many multiple times. I have to go do each one. So if I'm going to take this one and move it to tomorrow, I simply move it to tomorrow, set it for 5 a.m., leave it at 0 minutes, and I'm done. So that's alarms. It's much like what you're used to with Outlook. The alarms in Outlook and the alarms in PracticeMaster are kind of coordinated. So if you snooze something in Outlook, it's going to drop off your alarm list in PracticeMaster, and vice versa. If you snooze something in PracticeMaster, it's going to drop off your alarm list in Outlook. So I'm a big proponent of alarms. And the most important thing to remember about them, other than how to set them and how to manage them, is that your best bet is to not ignore them, but to reschedule them or snooze them. And then if you're snoozing it over and over today and you decide, finally, I'm not going to do this today, reschedule it for tomorrow. Nothing worse than an alarm list that just keeps growing and growing and growing and keeps getting ignored, because that makes the whole thing pointless. Okay, I'm going to remind everybody, first off, that next month we are talking about batch replicating. Joe's going to take that topic, and basically it just means taking a bunch of records in one file and copying them to another file. She's going to talk about how you can do that, how it works, where you can do it, where you can't do it. I'm going to talk about local installs. A local install of the software means that the programs run on your local machine and the data is still on your network drive. And that's the way PracticeMaster and Tabs and the other software from STI should be running. And if it's not, when you press help, for instance, it's going to tell you help is not available. There's certain other things that you don't get when you're not running locally. So I'm going to talk all about how to do that and why it's important. I want to remind everybody, version 16 is being sunsetted come June. So if you're still on 16 and want to continue to receive support from STI and want to continue to be eligible for the free updates, you better apply some sort of an update to get up past 16, or else you're going to be operating on a sunsetted product that's no longer being supported. And I also want to remind everybody that that is happening because version 19 is coming. And if you want to be a pre-release candidate that gets to try the software 2 months before everybody else, let me know immediately by sending an email to paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com, and we will make sure that you get everything you need to make that decision and, if appropriate, get signed up to be a pre-release candidate. And of course, it wouldn't be an Attorney Computer Systems Virtual User Group meeting if I didn't take you to our website, which is attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice the emphasis on that last S in the word systems, because once you get here, you can hover over or click on the word videos in the menu bar, and you will be taken to a list of all of our titles. Of course, you must already know about the live events because you are currently watching, listening to, or attending the PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting for April 2018. We also have a Tabs Virtual User Group meeting and a World Docs Virtual User Group meeting, and we have one more live event, which is my monthly Coffee Pot webinar series, where I take a cool add-on product or something that enhances the value of Tabs, PracticeMaster, or World Docs, and I invite somebody from that company in to join me and talk about their product and how it works with Tabs, PracticeMaster, or World Docs. And then we also have our pre-recorded non-live events or titles. Mary Jo has her e-bite video series where she takes really cool things that we can explain quickly and concisely and records 2 or 3 or 4 minute videos about whatever it is that we're talking about. She records 3 of these every month, 1 on Tabs, 1 on PracticeMaster, and 1 on World Docs. And then we also have the Paul and Mary Jo Show, which is kind of the same thing, but it's for broader topics, where I or Mary Jo will take something that takes a little longer to explain and get into a more of a deep dive into that function or that feature and all of the ramifications, taking 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. Now, if you'll click on one of these titles, we'll go here because that's where we are. If you'll click on the more info, you will be taken to something that describes that title, something that tells you if it's a live event, what the next event is, when the next event is, and what the topics are, and how to register. 2 different links, same place, just some people like to see what they're clicking on. As you scroll down, you will find pre-recorded versions of everything we've done before. This one is the one you're currently listening to, so if you're listening to it live, then it's still in post-production because it takes about a week to get these up on the website. But as you scroll down even further, you'll find everything we've ever done. We have somewhere between 600 and 800 videos on this website, and we are adding about 10 of them every month. So there's a lot of content here. You can search. If I wanted to find out about emailing statements, for instance, I could search by typing email and either picking something from the short list or hitting enter and going to the long list. So you have the ability to zero in on what you want, and you also have the ability to just kind of browse around and find things as they strike you. So please take advantage of these. They are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, ready for you to consume. That's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the month, and we will see you in May. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everybody.